Welcome back to the first episode of the Max Term podcast in 2026. We know it's been a little while and we'll get into why, but it's exciting why we've had a little bit of a longer hiatus than anticipated. I think the sign off of the last episode is we would talk to you next time contract projections are live. And contract projections are live. We'll get into that a little bit more, but we appreciate you listening, sticking with us through our little break. Max Stern Podcast available on all podcast platforms. Our content, including our contract projections that we're about to talk about, available on X, Blue Sky, Threads, and now the new AFPanalytics.com.
Yes.
Right there. I won't say fully rip the Google Sheet, but kind of rip the Google Sheet.
It's around still. It's there as a backup safety net. But yes, projections are living on the site in a table on a real website.
Yes. So we'll continue to kind of go back to that as we talk about, but that's the main reason that it's been a little while since we've been posting is we kind of knocked the projections out real quick, and then we were like, well, we've been talking about doing this. Let's just do it. So then you building it up. I can't take much credit there.
We'll see. I might not want to take too much credit. We got to make sure it works well.
So if it works well, James did it. If it did not work well, it's because I didn't contribute enough. It's my fault.
Sure, we can go with that.
We'll go with that. So we appreciate you listening, and contract projections, as I said, are live. So this episode, talking a little bit about that, kind of how you can access things on our website as well. Not trying to be a full-on infomercial for that, but we are excited about the work that has been put in and hope that you are able to benefit as a listener and a content consumer, I guess I'll put our content consumer.
Yeah.
So I think the downside with how long it kind of we've had the projections sitting kind of in our back pocket for probably 2 weeks at this point.
I was gonna say a couple weeks. Yep.
And if you follow us on social media, you've probably seen us kind of reference like sneak peek, like here's where we had this player in our new projection. So there's been a lot of extensions over the past 2 weeks, really, unfortunately.
Yeah, some interesting names.
Yeah.
Some good names. You kind of expected something might happen soon, but yeah, I think most notably, correct me if I'm wrong, my mind's been all over the place, but Broberg probably was one of the first recently to sign. I know we can go back a little further, like Philly signed Dvorak.
Yeah.
Probably some other ones in there.
I think Broberg was kind of the first from when we had kind of finished up and we're kind of sitting on things. The other ones we had kind of trickled in as we were doing them. Like Dvorak, you had literally run that morning.
Yeah.
And the news came down that evening. So we quickly kind of checked it in between us, and then we said, okay, we feel okay with that. But I think Broberg was kind of the first one that dropped since we had done projections. So Broberg, I think, who would be the most surprising one that came down? I have my answer, I think. Well, I guess there's two answers. A surprising in a good way and a surprising in a, I don't know about that way.
The good way, I'm wondering if I'm going to take your answers here. Good way, probably Josh Doan in Buffalo.
At least from the team and fan perspective.
Yeah. So that deal, I would say there was almost some little hints that there could be something. Doan was publicly saying he wanted to stay in Buffalo and be there long term. So that deal, I I guess I won't speak for you, I think is somewhat team friendly.
Yeah.
So I guess for the sake of discussing it, so he signed 7 years at 6.95, and we had 5 years at about 6.7.
Yeah.
So not much of an increase there, considering 2 extra UFA seasons were bought with that contract.
Yeah.
So especially in a cap climate that seems to it at least seems like it's starting to produce some interesting, maybe inflated contracts, at least in comparison to recent years, because of the larger increases year to year.
Yeah. I mean, this is where we always emphasize, but really have to start looking at the percent of cap the contract's taking up. Right now, it seems a little bit high, but if you were to recalculate the percentages taking up year over year, that's going to should drop very significantly. Where by the time we're getting in years 5, 6, 7, this is a little bit of a hot take, but this contract might be on like best values in hockey type contract.
Yeah.
With the
definitely possible.
With the way the player's ascending, as well as the deal that they locked him up to.
So you kind of said good and bad, essentially, or one that made you a little uneasy.
Uneasy, I think, would be the correct. Maybe I might have two that are a little.
Okay.
I think a clear one that I would be a little uneasy about as a fan or the team giving it, and then another that we'll see.
Is Detroit involved in one of these?
Detroit is sure involved in one of these.
Go for it.
So I barely saw it. We're recording Wednesday evening, January 28th.
Yep.
We'll see when this episode comes out because it'll be a little making sure the website's ready to launch and everything. So might be a couple days after that we record that you're listening to this. But I was just at work and you're like, oh, I can post Ben Sherratt. I hadn't even seen the news yet. So then I went and checked notifications. Oh, I don't know if I'd do that. I don't think the average annual value's bad. I don't think that's the issue.
Yeah.
It's, what was it, 3 years for someone who is going to be 35.
Yep.
So this will take him into his late 30s.
Yeah.
And again, the average annual value in a couple years isn't going to be bad. So for the record, we had projected 1 year, which seems fair, at $3.4 million.
Which, just very quickly, I will say some of the very strong comps as far as player to player were 1 year deals.
Yeah.
Somewhat heavily. So I felt very good about a 1 year deal for him.
Yeah, I mean, at his age, that makes complete sense.
Yep.
Age role,
now he's still young enough that I could see some term. That's where I don't. The AAV is higher than what we projected, about 450K higher.
Yeah.
That paired with the extra term, I don't love.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a deal in 2 years that Detroit's looking back and like, oh, we can't make this move because we still have Ben Sherratt on the books. But I also think in 2 years, fans are looking back and like, are you kidding me that we're still paying Ben Sherratt almost $4 million? But that also could be the going rate for a third pair defenseman at that time.
It almost is now. So last thing maybe not last thing, we'll see, but last thing I definitely want to mention with him, and I'm going to pick on a random Detroit fan that was in our mentions, kind of used our post as like, hey, look, this deal's perfectly fine. All the other analytics people don't know what they're talking about. I want to make sure not that one Detroit fan is listening to this, but more so when I posted that contract, I essentially said this was a manageable deal. Like they should be able to deal with this contract. Would I have signed him to this contract? No. Should it impact them long term? Not really. Like that, they should be able to deal with 3.85 and not have it truly impact other big decisions. Assuming, I guess, that they're smart across the rest of the roster. So is it manageable? Yeah, it's not signing someone to a $8 million deal that absolutely is not worth it. Still, is it the best use of the 3.85 million? Probably not. His metrics aren't great. And this is the other thing I kind of want to mention, and maybe it leads to a little bit of a tangent. Our contract graphic has what we call max stat. There is max stat itself, and then a bunch of substats,
Components.
Yeah. So max stat is not. I want to be very clear. It's not WAR.
Yeah, it's not a
it is
straight
not,
performance.
It is not at all meant to be WAR. Max stat itself is a combination of all of those other
skills.
Yeah. Pretty much, it's more of a skill stat. So he's actually looking pretty good this year overall from a skill standpoint. There's some that he's very just not good with, but there are valuable things that he provides. I don't have it in front of me, but I think shot blocking, was that one of them?
Physicality, which is shot blocking hits. Shot blocking as well.
Okay.
Zone denial, so hits around the blue line, basically, or takeaways around the blue line. Puck management, he's taking the puck away more than giving it away. And then he's scoring goals from deep, which is helping him as well.
So he's like, there's parts of his game that are good. And if you want to justify this contract, you can point to that. I just want to be as clear as possible, as much as possible, that I believe it was 67% was the max stat. Yeah. That's not necessarily saying he's 67th percentile best, not player. Best, but 67th percentile amongst all defensemen. This is a skill stat. It's not WAR.
Yeah, and even 67%, even if you did want to kind of look at, like, that's still not that's it's okay.
Fine.
Yeah.
Like, especially honestly for someone signing in the $3 million, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I more want to make sure that's clear, because without full understanding there, that could be a little, in a way, misleading. So making sure you understand max stat, which is also, by the way, on our new website in a table and graphics separate from the contracts.
Yeah.
Definitely go check those out. There's some explanation of what these components are to kind of better understand.
Yeah, and just a little more on Sherratt and the website, I guess.
Yeah.
I think, so Evolving Hockey's RAPM charts, I mean, we look at them kind of as just a very quick eye test to just make sure that what we're thinking about a player lines up with certain things.
Helps with perception.
It does. And what shows up in their charts in particular are not dissimilar to what shows up in our max stat for what would be in their chart. So their O-zone impact for Ben Sherratt is 48%. The D-zone impact is 6%. So when you see all those deep red bars for the defensive metrics, well, we line right up with that. And then he takes a lot of penalties too, which is not great, and his passing isn't great. Like he's it's not like, so he has some things that he's doing well, and it makes sense that a team could be valuing those things.
Yep.
But when it comes down to it, cherry picking our graphic versus like Evolving Hockey or Jay Fresh's graphics, we're actually saying similar things.
Yes.
It's just we have some different components that make him look a little bit better skill wise, a little more well-rounded.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that he's necessarily a better impact player on the ice. He brings different elements to the ice, I guess is probably the way to put it.
Absolutely.
And as you said, this is now accessible on our website. We're offering basically a base. Everyone can access our website, which is going to have the contract projections.
Yes.
And then things like the max stat, you can generate your own graphics, but it is the premium kind of. This is the first kind of premium content that we're launching. We're not trying to gouge our users, but we also, if we're going to host this website and put the time in, we have to get a little level of return. So you can sign up for the premium content, generate the graphics, max stat, all on your own. You get a little bit more in the contract projections as well, including comparable players. We're taking that away from the kind of free version. Looking at what, $3 a month is where we settled.
$3 a month. So that's a monthly choice.
Yep.
Or if you want to do yearly, I believe we've got $28.80, and that's 20% off.
Yep. So again, I'm not trying to sit here and say that, things are in the economy are great and everyone has a lot of disposable income. So we're trying to keep it accessible and affordable while also hoping to, support our costs and everything, that both time and website hosting. So we appreciate if you do sign up, give us a year commitment to kind of do things. We're going to try to make it more than worth, we think, your $28.80.
And by the way, if you're listening to this and you go and sign up, if you notice things that are a little off or something's not quite working right, we would absolutely love if you just mention us like on X or something.
Yeah, DM's open too.
Yeah, just let us know what you're seeing, because it's a brand new site. It's new to us, and the idea of it is to kind of just allow more access to users. We've been doing this since 2019. We've been doing the graphics since 2021-ish, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly, but
basic, and they've expanded over time.
Yeah, and they've always been like just the two of us able to really access those and post them and put them out. And a big thing that some people had mentioned, it would be great to have access to those, and we agree that would be nice. So the whole idea behind this is also just user experience. So if you are someone who would like to subscribe and you do, and anything seems off, or even if you think this text color would look better, Kyle actually mentioned that to me on one thing, and I was like, you know what, that's good, and it's a change we made. So just anything you notice, let us know.
Yeah, we want to try to make it, you feel like you are getting your money's worth. We don't want you to feel like you're just throwing it to us. We want you to feel like you're getting some worth out of that. So we'll reference a couple more things, but we didn't want to turn it into a full-on info, but the opportunity was there to leave it in. So I think those are the signings that caught my eye. I don't know if there were any others. That maybe one other.
Malinsky,
yes, that was the other.
Say was interesting because he's had a phenomenal year. I thought about putting this out, and I didn't know if, I feel like people would have taken it a little too literally, but he's like, at least this season, he's third pair Cal McCarr.
Yeah,
like
he is.
What his game is, it's Cal McCarr, just kind of the third pair version.
Yeah.
So his new contract, 4x4.75, it's at least traditionally a little rich for third pair. At the same time, in addition to him playing very well this season, Brent Burns is there, Josh Manson's there. He's getting a little older. It would make sense that Malinsky could be given an opportunity to be on the ice a little bit more. So I was a little surprised to see that big of a deal from Colorado, but I don't necessarily mind it. We had 3 years at about 4.1.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah. It's a, looking at his numbers, and like, again, I guess I'll say our max stat stuff, the different skills that we can see, I think that's a solid bet on a player.
Yeah,
there's a little risk there, but
that's basically where my, hey, we'll see how this pans out deal is. Like Malinsky was that. Like, It's not Detroit. I don't hate it. I don't hate the Sherratt, but I don't love it. But like this could work, but there's some downside.
Yes, it's possible it doesn't.
Okay, I think that's kind of it for the contracts signed.
Yes.
So I think hit some of the RFAs quickly, and then I think there's some UFAs that'll be a little bit more interesting to talk about.
So right at the top with the RFAs, Bedard's up there.
Yep.
8 by 13.2 is where we have him.
Yep.
This season has been very good for him from a contract perspective. And dating back to the offseason, we were kind of saying, is it a little concerning he wasn't getting a deal? Also, very possible he and his representation were sitting there saying, no, we need to wait because he's better than he's been. So his contract projection has gone up in the last
been a while, really.
Last year.
Basically since the offseason.
Since the offseason, yeah. So he leads the RFAs. I'm going to skip a name.
Yeah.
Because to kind of continue the young RFA center, Leo Carlsson still needs a deal. We've got him 8 by 10.9. Fantilli needs a deal. He's a little bit lower, 8 by 9.9. So there's still some very high-level franchise cornerstone centers who need deals.
Yeah, I think when we had done these back in May, we were splitting hairs. Bedard, we had a touch higher, mostly for draft status and thought of potential.
Yeah.
And then we were splitting hairs between Leo Carlsson, Adam Fantilli, and the signed Logan Cooley.
Yes.
Cooley came in $10 million average annual value. So Bedard's well past that. I mean, he's had a
he was Cooley
MV...
kind of bumped everyone up.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And Leo Carlsson has also had injury. I know he's injured now and is going to miss the Olympics, which sucks.
Good. Yeah.
But he was really, really good
He's been very good
for a very big stretch. So him slotting in comfortably ahead of Cooley would not be surprising. And Fantilli, I don't know if he's showing enough yet to. He's very good.
Yeah.
But I think that Columbus would probably not love to give him more than Cooley at this point, which is where we project him right below Cooley, maybe even the same deal. But I don't know if he's shown enough to separate himself from Logan Cooley.
So I mentioned I skipped a name.
Yep. Let's skip him a little more and go down to kind of just a few more.
Okay, some more centers.
More of the RFAs that are more on their first.
Okay. Leo Carlsson's teammate.
Yep.
Cutter Gauthier.
Who's American.
Is he?
Yeah.
How do we pronounce that then?
Yeah, I think you were right, but
okay.
Technically an American.
Well, okay.
From Swedish descent, but technically American.
Another player who has been playing very well this season. His projection, I should say, long-term 7 by about 8.5. He's kind of become, he's first line wing, good goal scorer, just playmaker in general. He kind of, I guess, of the very young coming off ELC wingers, he's kind of the top of the market.
Yeah, pretty clearly at this point. If Anaheim wanted to go short term, really, I think if his representatives wanted to go short term, because Anaheim should be pushing for as much term as possible here, we're projecting 3 years, $6.3 million for a short term deal. That would take him a couple years still shy of unrestricted free agency. So it's possible the Ducks bite with that, but man, I'd be hard pressed if I'm Anaheim to do anything less than 8-year deals, especially this is the last offseason you can do that. I'm trying to lock up both Leo Carlson and Cutter Gauthier to 8-year deals.
They have a ton of space too.
Yeah.
So they really should be trying to just do term with these guys, even if it seems pretty expensive. They have the space. If both of these guys sign the long deals, that's what do we have? 10.9. I'll call it 11 for Leo Carlson. And then we said 8.5. Let's just for the sake of it, let's say he even gets more than that and he gets 9. So two of them together is 20 million. They're still going to have like 18, 19 million to work with in the off season. Beyond that, plenty of space in Anaheim. Lock in your core.
One or two other forwards, and then the defense kind of tiers in. I would like to spend a second on after this, but Pavel Dorofeyev, he's had an up and down box score year in Vegas.
Kind of, I will say. The scoring, I guess I will say the scoring's kind of come in bunches a little bit.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he probably will get to around 30 goals.
Yeah.
And that will be 2 years at that level. I remember kind of looking at him and kind of saying, it seems like the vibe around him's down a little bit with fans, or at least some fans. But at the same time, like if he's putting together essentially 2 30-goal seasons, Paterka, like that's the starting point.
Yeah.
And then you factor in the cap increase. This is a little bit, I guess it's
a year down the road.
a year down the road, but it's also like 9 million more for teams to work with.
Yeah.
So it's going to raise that number a little bit. So his long term was
6 by 8.5
by
basically.
about 8.5, a touch under Gauthier, which not exactly comparable, but it could matter.
Yeah. I mean, even when talking relative to Paterka too, Dorofeyev is 25, so he's buying more UFA years with that than Paterka did or Gauthier would.
Yep.
So it's not that much. It will be interesting to see where Vegas goes with that because, again, his scoring, as you kind of said, bunches.
Yeah.
But his two-way impact this season has been very good from start to now. Short-term deal, we project would probably walk him to unrestricted free agency. Maybe they could agree on like a 1-year qualifying offer type thing if they want to kick the can 1 year down the road. But short-term deal, 2 years, 5.6 million, 5.65. That's not advisable.
Not for Vegas.
No.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because they're a team that's kind of always very tight with the cap. At the same time, like it seems like he's the type of player who you'd want to keep around for a while. So we'll see. But yeah, he's kind of the second of the older RFA wingers.
Yeah. And then Dylan Holloway a little bit actually quite a bit behind him, who he was really good last year. This year, injuries and
just St. Louis
in general, just a little bit down. So he's not seeing a bump up, which most of the other RFAs have clearly risen from last projection to this projection.
Yeah.
Holloway, 5 years, 7.2 is the projection. That's similar to where we had him in May. I think maybe one last year or something, but very, very, or one more year. So similar average annual value, but maybe an extra year. So yeah, that he's still going to get a nice contract, but that hasn't. I think he was trending at a point where he absolutely could have been towards the top of the list with this contract, and that's definitely not going to be the case now.
Yeah.
Let's do a couple defensemen, and then we'll circle around. I think I have a good couple transitions in my mind.
RFAs
Yeah, let's do a
still.
couple RFA defensemen.
So RFA defenseman leading the pack is Edvinsson from the Detroit Red Wings.
Has to.
Very interesting situation where
Yeah.
so you were primarily looking at RFAs, and there was I feel like we had the same exact conversation in the off season when we were doing
Yeah.
projections as this year. It's like what does Detroit do as far as kind of their cap culture? Because trying to factor that in, knowing that that's a little bit of a thing there, made it difficult to project him at a number that is like truly comfortable for us.
Yeah.
And I guess to stop beating around the bush a little bit, that's Mo Sider at 8.6.
I think 6-ish. I'll fact check if you want to
Okay,
finish
yeah.
up the.
So it was a bit difficult to go above that number. We ended up doing that slightly.
Yeah, so Cider was 8.55.
Okay. I think he was 8.55, and then Faber came in at 8
8.5. Faber was 8.5 first, and then
Okay,
Cider
and then
went.
Sider came in right above him. Yep.
And for reference, and I think this is kind of where your point's going, Cider's cap hit percentage at signing was 9.7%, I believe.
Yeah. Sounds right. It was in the nines, I think.
That's what Cap Wages has a breakdown by year of cap hit percentage, which is very handy. I didn't realize that he had incorporated that. That's very handy. So 9.7% at signing.
Okay.
So now with that in context.
Yeah, so Edvinsson's long-term projection from us is 8.52%.
Yeah.
So significantly lower from a percentage standpoint. It's just the AV comes in. Where is he? Like 300K higher?
Yep.
It's difficult because, and try not to go on too much of a tangent, but generally I'll call it old school hockey thinking is looking at the AAV number. That's kind of deciding where the limit is. That's kind of how you try and set your cap culture. Top guy gets this number, everyone else slots in under.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult to do that, especially in a cap climate that we're, I guess, in now, but really at the beginning of with these large increases year to year.
Further context to Detroit's situation, highest paid player, Dylan Larkin, their captain, 8.7 average annual value. So, like, we have Edvinsson projected to become the highest average annual value on the Red Wings. But when you start taking cap hit percentage wise, Larkin's at signing was 10.4, Siders was
9.7.
9.7.
Yep.
And then Lucas Raymond was 9.2%.
Yeah.
We have Edvinsson coming below all of those, but with a higher average annual value.
Yep.
At some point, something's going to give. I think that's the next episode we're going to talk about. We were bouncing that around over here and talk about on this one. Probably next episode
we'll dive in more
is there's kind of a bubble that's going to have to burst at some point.
Yeah.
So subscribe Max Turn Podcast to know when that episode goes live. So what is going to happen with Edvinsson? I don't know.
Yeah, I think in a way our projections potentially kind of splitting the middle a little bit. Like in theory, he should be. Like you look at Hudson and Lacombe, like he should be maybe trying to come in a little higher than them, so in the low nines, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Generally, it's kind of, the next big RFA defenseman to sign. you'd want to try and beat them a little bit, but that would be kind of a clear difference from where the rest of the Red Wings are.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess in a way we're kind of split in the middle a little bit. It would not shock me at all if he comes in, maybe beats Sider, but not Larkin.
Like 8.6. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we always, it's always a debate. Are we projecting market value or what we think they're going to sign for when considering team and everything? And RFAs, it's even harder because you kind of know they're staying with the team, so you kind of
Yeah.
have to factor that in. But if he were to solicit an offer sheet, he's getting, as you said, well, probably over 9 pretty easily.
Yep. Okay, after Edvinsson, ooh, fun one because I feel like it's been kind of a tumultuous career, but it's starting to look good now.
So to be clear, Edvinsson kind of the very clear top
Yes.
of the class as far as RFA defensemen go, coming off their entry level contracts, kind of signing their second deal. The next, what, 3, 4 names? I think 3 names. Splitting hairs,
Yeah.
trying to slot them in. So go ahead with,
I'd say two splitting hairs a little bit.
and then maybe a
One's a
third.
touch lower, but worthy of being in the same kind of group. Mentioning them.
Kind of when I was projecting, I'll say that these 3, so Edmonton I knew had to be the ceiling, and then these next 3 I kind of knew had to slot in an order.
Yep.
But figuring out that order and what the gap was not easy.
So there's Nemec in New Jersey. That projection 7 by 8.3, so that's about 550K, well, 560K under Edvinsson. After Nemec, there's Brant Clark with the Kings, and my computer goes dark at the perfect
7
time.
years, 8 million basically, so 300,000 below Nemec.
And then a little more of a gap, but kind of the next defenseman in the group would be Olin Zellweger from the Anaheim Ducks. Sneaky in a way, like
Yeah.
I guess I'll get to that in a second. 7 years at about 7.3. So
Yeah.
that's a gap of, we'll call it 700K from Clark to him.
Yeah, about 1.6 from Edmonton down to Zellweger.
Yes.
Which is really not that much when,
I mean it is, but we're talking clear like these are top 4 guys.
yeah.
For sure. What I was going to say about Zellweger is the way Lacombe kind of came on in Anaheim, it was a little sneaky at first and you didn't realize it. I feel like that's kind of happening with him too. And it might just be because it's Anaheim.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was going to say I would try and get him locked up too if I was Anaheim. That's a lot of long-term commitment in one off season. I don't know if a team will actually go for that, but they should.
So he was someone that we were kind of looking at a little bit. Again, kind of, I think you had mentioned maybe he should be bumped up a little bit to be a little closer to Nemec and Clark, which we ended up doing.
Yep.
To me, when I was looking at the comps for Zellweger in particular, he screams short-term contract.
Yeah.
Which we project 2 years, 4 million. For reference, Nemec 2 years, 4.3 million, and Clark must be somewhere around here, and I just don't see him right off the top of my head.
Let's see here.
Oh no, he's a little bit higher. 2 years, 5 million.
Okay.
A little bit more, I think, offensive, and I think he's playing more minutes where he gets a little
He's
bit.
a year older too.
That might be, yeah. I think actually that's the reason. Zellweger in particular, though, the comps short term just make so much more sense than long term. Like to me, Dobson and Bouchard are fantastic comps for Zellweger. Both of those, and then Thomas Harley as well. All three
Yeah.
of those just raw AAV are 2 years, $4 million, basically, give or take like 100,000. Obviously, percentage cap
right
changes that a little bit, but just raw AAV 2 years, $4 million. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Style wise, skill wise, as you said, he seems to be sneaky kind of coming on, but not quite there yet.
There's a reason he's got a little bit of a gap
Yeah.
on the long-term projections between those other names.
Yeah. So, anyways, those if you want to check out comps for others, you can do so on the website
With a subscription.
with a nice subscription.
Not to keep plugging the
yeah
subscription, but yep, with a subscription, comps and tax info.
Yep. So
that was defenseman.
I'm going to set up the transition here. So there's one more RFA big name that we've not talked about.
I think there's one more name we should probably mention, who's a goalie, because he's kind of the only goalie.
Yeah, okay, we can have a goalie.
I always say his name wrong. Graves?
Jet Greaves.
Jet
okay, Greaves,
I guess
Columbus.
I'm right. Okay. Finally kind of getting more playing time there. Think it's becoming a little more clear that he is the future guy there. So we've got his long-term deal coming in at 4 by about 5.8. I guess I just want to make sure we mention him because he's kind of the clear goalie that's needing a deal this offseason.
At least as far as RFA goes.
Yes. I guess I don't have a whole lot to say about him other than, he's kind of the guy in Columbus long-term.
Should probably work on getting that contract done.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's playing well.
Now
go ahead and do your transition.
I have a perfect transition. So
yep. Didn't even talk about Greaves.
Yeah.
Transition
to we skipped one big RFA name.
Yep.
And it's because he's basically, to me, he almost falls in the UFA discussion.
Yeah.
Jason Robertson. He's 26 years old, which means he is exactly 1 year away from unrestricted free agency. So any contract that is basically a 1 year deal walks him to unrestricted free agency, and then anything with any sort of term is just buying unrestricted free agent years. He is also lighting it up this year. Was an absolute snub from the Olympic team. Maybe the top snub from the Olympic team. And with all that said, I think there's questions about his long-term future. There's been questions about his long-term future in Dallas that have surfaced for a while.
Seems like there's an unusual level of maybe willingness from Dallas, it seems. I mean, this is based off of reports, too. For all we know, there's not, but there's an unwillingness to kind of keep things quiet, almost.
Yeah. I mean, and it's also odd that no problem giving Rantanen a long-term contract.
Yeah.
No problem giving Harley the long-term contract. Had no problem giving Hintz the long-term contract a couple years ago. It's interesting that there's still basically one name in their top 6 forwards, top 4 defensemen that they are not fully willing to commit to. And it's Robertson, and I don't know if that's because they don't necessarily, it's trouble coming to the correct value, or if it's Dallas is concerned about being able to fit all these guys in the cap, and maybe Robertson they view as the potential I guess piece that does not just, they can't fit.
There's also at least what seems to be a very, I don't know, unique's not the right word, but it's not very often that you have an asset like that you could potentially turn into a lot of very good assets.
Yeah.
There's a negative to losing someone like Robertson from the team, but to kind of keep going off of what you just said, if there is at all that worry of, okay, this is a very long commitment at a very high number, maybe like it almost seems like Dallas is kind of sitting there waiting for someone to kind of tempt them a little bit. Like, we're willing to do something, just show us the offer. And maybe that's just why something hasn't gotten done. They're waiting and seeing. They could really, really, really like the player and just not quite love him.
Yeah, and their kind of cap situation is interesting. Would have made a little more sense to wait on Harley potentially, but they have Sagan on the books this year, and then Sagan's contract on the books for one more year after.
Yeah.
In theory, they could kind of do a 1 year deal with Robertson this summer with a kind of handshake agreement that the long-term deal will be signed basically January 1st, and it would allow them to kind of get through the Sagan cap hit. But again, it feels like this is a bridge that I would have went down with Harley first, or you almost could have crossed I don't know.
One thing I will say about Robertson that people who are anti Jason Robertson will point out is he's slow. He's not a fast player. Could that worry teams? Potentially, especially in a league that is extremely high paced now. He's also not physical, really. He can be, and he's, I think, underrated, at least amongst fans, probably, of being able to kind of do some of the dirty work in the offensive zone. But in general, he's not throwing his body around a ton. So he doesn't do that. He's not fast. Is there, whether it's right or not, a little bit of a kind of perception that like he could tail off
Or
at some point?
or someone you can't view as the core.
Right.
But the reality is he's
insanely good at everything else.
Yeah, like okay, so all those things, all those concerns you laid out, he's arguably this year top 10 in offensive generation, like in the entire league.
Yeah. He's a very good hockey player. There could be some skills that could concern a team, maybe, and maybe that's why Dallas is willing to listen.
Yeah, but projection 8 years, 12 million.
Yeah. So you mentioned he's almost like a UFA, and I kind of remember us talking and you kind of mentioning it feels like he should come in near like a Kyle Connor contract. That kind of level. I mean, that's right where we've got him.
Exactly. Connor was 8 years, 12, and we have Robertson projected just under that, but
yeah,
rounding.
Right. So again, I mean, I tried to lay out like maybe a little bit of what the other side could be coming to the table with there, but he's one of the best forwards in hockey. So at the end of the day, he should get absolutely paid.
Yeah, and looking at the UFA class at forward in general, here this was my good transition. I was planning in my head. Top UFA forward name. Sabres Alex Tuch.
Maybe. I say maybe for multiple reasons.
Maybe, yes. Okay.
Whether he's still there and there's someone else who some would consider the top name, but
I forgot we did change the projection around.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Actually, so yeah. But, I mean, I don't think you're wrong to call him the top name. I think there's very much so an argument there.
So the two top projected UFA forwards Artemi Panarin and Alex Tuch.
Panarin 4 by 10.8 and Tuch 8 by 10.6.
Yeah. Panarin's already being held out for trade. Like, by the time you're even listening to this episode, he maybe's traded.
Potentially.
Because tonight, as we were right before we started recording, I saw notifications that he's being held out for asset management purposes, and that is probably going to continue through a trade, however long that takes.
Yes, and by the way, just in case you're not aware, Olympic break, I believe it's the February 5th is when the roster freeze goes into place.
Sounds about right.
It's almost like a makeshift trade deadline. It isn't actually the trade deadline, so there will be things that wait until after the freeze is lifted on the 22nd, I think. Don't quote me on that.
Don't hold us to any of those dates.
But I think that's a Sunday, and I think that's the date. But in general, as you're listening to this, I don't know exactly when we're even putting this out, but probably in a few days, there's a makeshift deadline for moves to come in. And
yeah.
It seems like New York is trying to make something happen soon, ideally before that.
And they, like, if nothing is done before the Olympics, a trade can't be finalized and anything until after the Olympics are over, but it does not prevent Chris Drury from laying groundwork to have a deal.
True.
And that would be, so Panarin not able to play in the Olympics because Russia is not allowed in the Olympics. If he were playing in the Olympics, that would add a whole other element. I don't know if there's anyone else that stands out in my mind that like the team might get a little nervous about the Olympics, potentially player picking up injuries. So Panarin, there is a little bit more runway for Drury, but
I mean, I'm not trying to start conspiracy theories, but we mentioned two other forward names that in theory could be moved. They shouldn't be, but Robertson and Tuch.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be.
But again, neither seemingly,
yes,
unless an injury replacement, which both of them very well could if the U.S. had an injury. But
I guess, you're talking Olympic. I was sort of just talking up to it. Yeah. But yes.
Yeah, there's no chance. Well, I won't say no chance. I'd be very surprised if Robertson or Tuch were traded.
I would be
before the Olympic deadline.
Yeah,
and
even after.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Panarin, it seems like could happen soon, if not already. Well, while you're listening to this, it could have already happened.
And then Tuch, we have projected just beating Adrian Kempe's contract.
Yeah, which I think this is the situation that has become a little bit, I guess, kind of a joke, but it's kind of the most obvious area of, whoa, the cap's going up a lot, is kind of this UFA forward market. Alex Tuch should absolutely come in around Kempe. Does it still seem crazy that it's that high of a number? Sure. I mean, it's very new that the numbers are getting this high for, I'll say, top 6 wingers. They're guys you're very comfortable with as a first line winger too, but they're not necessarily like the best of the best. So yeah, that seems very fair. Kind of right in that, even we'll say like 10.5 range. Whether he gets kind of worked down a little bit by Buffalo and maybe it's closer to 10 or even 10 straight, maybe. I don't know. He shouldn't. Like, selfishly as a player, should not do that.
Yeah, I think we both had a hard time thinking that was possible, but you blind resume Alex Tuch and Adrian Kempe next to each other, and I ask, just generally speaking, you to pick the better player. I guarantee at least 50% of people, maybe we'll put this poll together on X.
Yeah.
At least 50% are probably taking Tuck.
Yeah.
Based on just blind resume numbers. So that's kind of the reality there. If you were Buffalo, would you use him as your own rental or trade him?
I think you have to use him as a rental.
Yeah.
I mean, you're trying to sign him still, but I don't see the trade. Like I understand people kind of cling to the, well, you can't lose a player that good for nothing. That happens pretty much every year across the league. Like someone's losing someone very valuable for nothing. Ehlers last year. Like it's gonna happen. When you're a very good team, that happens to you. I would find it very odd to trade Tuck. And even if you did, and then in theory you use assets you got or other ones, send those out the door for someone more controllable, chances are, because of that control being some of the value, the player themselves are not going to be Tuck level.
Yeah.
So I just add on what that could do to the locker room.
Yeah, the intangible aspect of it. Yeah.
That just feels crazy to me that you'd consider trading him.
Yeah, I think Sabres fans probably scarred, rightfully so, from the past.
I understand where we can't lose him for nothing. That would be crazy. Like I get where it's coming from.
But yeah, I mean, right now the Sabres are, I don't want to be hyperbolic here, but like arguably top 5 team in the league.
They have been. They're, I want to say, and this is as of recording, but like 5 or 6 points into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like you're in a very good spot right now. It would just seem extremely odd, especially as a team that hasn't made the playoffs in potentially 15 seasons if they don't this year. Like why would you mess with that?
And the other thing that Buffalo's been juggling all year is who's up in the NHL, who's down in the AHL, who's on injured reserve. Basically, there's more forwards than there are spots. Like forwards deserving to play than there are spots in the lineup. If you're concerned about, okay, you want to get assets back for Alex Tuck because you don't want to lose him for nothing. Great. Where are those players slotting in your lineup organization? Because when Josh Norris gets healthy, you're already sending down someone who has probably shown that they are an NHL player.
Yeah.
And then if Yeri Kulik is able to get through his blood clot issues, which again, hopefully for his sake he is able to, but not counting on that. But if he comes back, there's another spot that you're sending someone down to the AHL that fans probably are not going to love, that being the potential, or someone's playing on a fourth line, or like, you already have enough forwards. If you lose Alex Tuck this offseason, okay, you just have a full-time spot for Osland or Costa Hellenis next season. Like you have the ability to lose him for nothing if you can make a playoff run. And tangent and rant.
Yeah.
So stop.
If anything, he should be signing a deal with Buffalo. If not, he should be finishing the season at least.
Yes.
Still on Buffalo.
Yes. Real quickly, one more point on Tuck and one more RFA. I had meant to kind of weave these together. Buffalo's going to be hard pressed fitting Tuck's cap in.
Yeah.
When you also look with the Doan contract that we already talked about, Zach Benson's up for a new deal, which long-term deal we have projected basically the Josh Doan contract. That would not be a shocking development. Those two players are performance-wise very similar. And then they also have I think that's. I mean, Michael Kesselring's going to need a new deal as well. Paying
Malenstein, if you
Krebs,
want. Like,
Beck Malenstein.
there are some depth guys where, like, if they sign Tuck and you can't afford anyone, there's a handful of roster spots that you have to fill.
Yeah, and it also might necessitate going short with Benson, which could line him up for a bigger payday in a couple years. So they're a little bit close to the cap. Zach Benson, ideally you get done similar to a Josh Doan contract, and then you're okay, but like you're really tight.
If Tuck is gone, they're fine.
Yeah.
If they're keeping him, they probably have somewhere in like the $2 million to work with. Now they could move someone, like you could try moving Greenway, free up $4 million. But like you start to get into that situation of like, okay, now we have to move people out to sign the remaining RFAs.
Yeah. And potentially do something suboptimal with like a Zach Benson at this point.
Yeah.
That I just wanted to weave in real quick. Nick Schmaltz, interesting. Oh no, we debated him a lot.
Well, so what was interesting is he's kind of next tier of UFA forward, and he's by himself in that tier. So, yeah, we were originally a bit lower than we are. So we've got him 6 by 8.3. And I think we were in maybe even the low 7 millions at first. And it was just kind of like, okay, maybe one of, I guess even with both Panarin and Tuck, what's the next tier? Like, and once those two guys go, or maybe they're not even on the UFA market, Schmaltz should be able to get a very solid payday. And he's also, just in general, he's an underrated player. Like, he's a good forward.
I think we debated up to 9.
Yeah. Which felt a little too much.
A little too aggressive, right? Yeah.
Maybe it ends up not being that aggressive because everyone keeps sliding way up.
Yeah, if Tuck ends up re-signing in Buffalo before we release our next iteration of projections, there's a strong chance that Schmaltz easily gets projected at 9 or above. Even not, if he finishes out, has a good season, maybe Utah does a little something in the playoffs and has a good playoff, like he could be pushing that.
So I think we felt he needed a bump from where we initially had him. I think it was a low 7, so now he's in the low 8s. Clear top 6 forward. He's mostly wing now, has a history of playing center. I think most teams would still see him as a winger. That's where he's been recently, and he's been good recently. So I mentioned he's kind of by himself, so I guess there are some older UFAs out there. Ovechkin, which isn't really a UFA. Like, he's either done or he's staying in Washington.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why we skipped him. There's Malkin, which is interesting, a bit below Schmaltz. We have 1 year, 6.75, we'll call it.
And that could be a similar situation with Malkin. It could be Pittsburgh or...
Right. So, like, continuing to drop, we get to...
I think Anders Lee, the next one.
Yes. 35, well, at least will be 35 July 1st.
Yeah.
2 years, 6.4 is our projection.
Yeah.
He's a very good forward. He's a very good player. Intangibles are part of it. But there is kind of a clear divide in what you should expect for a contract between Schmaltz and Lee.
Yeah. And he even could be same as...
He could be another one who ends up re-signing with the Islanders and staying there. And if that happens, then we're looking at...
Charlie Coyle?
Charlie Coyle, 3 years, 5.8. He's actually been very good for Columbus.
Yeah, that's not a knock on, but like...
It's not a knock on Coyle, but it's just showing, like, there is a significant gap between Schmaltz, and probably the next person up. And even more so if you want to look at those top names like Panarin and Tuck, like that's you're almost not quite, but you're essentially like cutting their value in half, and that's kind of where we're looking at for UFA forwards.
Yeah. And the blue line class is not much better.
No, and we should say like there are good names here, but it's lacking the elite.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess similar though for the blue line. Rasmus Anderson is kind of the top name. 8.5,
No,
8.8.
we're up to 9.
Are we at 9?
Yeah. We kind of
Oh,
reassessed him.
sorry, I was looking at the wrong line.
Yeah.
9. Okay.
7 by 9.
7 by 9. I'm curious to see what happens if he ends up re-upping with Vegas. Maybe that number's a little bit lower there.
Yeah.
But still kind of looking projections, where's the next UFA defenseman? Jacob Trouba. We have 4 by 6.5. This was just an extremely difficult one. New York was trying to get rid of him. The $8 million cap hit was too much. Anaheim takes him. Now he's having like one of his best seasons in years. And he's a right shot defenseman, and he's arguably going to be the best UFA out there if Anderson signs.
And even if Anderson doesn't sign, depending on what you're looking for on your blue line.
Exactly. Anderson's a very different player than Trouba.
Yes.
So, like, our 4 by 6.5 for Trouba, like, that seems fair, and maybe that 8 million that was bad perception around Trouba keeps it around 6.5. But like he could be the top guy out there. There could be Anaheim could say, we really like what you've done here. Here's 7.5.
Yeah, I could see them doing like a 2-year, 8 mil, like give him 2 more years at the same average annual value. We struggled with him. The comps also were, I think that where we landed, the comps made sense, but it like if he was going to come in higher, the comps we were pushing.
Yeah. Similarly to UFA forwards, and there's kind of some of the older players who it feels like would stick with their team. There's John Carlson, which there's a little more uncertainty around because there was a quote, and this isn't the exact quote, but essentially like he's interested in staying and wanted to do a deal and hadn't heard from the team at all. Like it wasn't going to happen now. Feels like he's a Washington Capital. We have a extension 3 by 6.1, 6.2.
Yeah.
That feels like maybe the deal that gets done if it's Washington.
Correct.
So, I mean, we're releasing these midseason as extension projections. If it is one, I feel good about that. If he hits the open market, he should be able to have that number skyrocket.
Yeah, we already will tell you in May if he's still unsigned, he's going to be massively bumped up.
Yeah.
We already like Ekholm is a comp right now because of the if he stays factor. Yeah. That's probably going to come out of there in next iteration.
Yep.
And that's already going to bump him up significantly.
Yeah.
Couple more defensemen real quickly, just because I think they're very interesting, especially as it relates to Malinsky. Darren Radish, who has been actually sneaky good, but not necessarily showing up in the box score for a couple years now, has eaten a lot of minutes, but this year is scoring left and right.
I mean, I will say this year the scoring's at a different level.
Yes.
But even in the past couple of years, I believe he's gotten 30 plus points.
I
like full season.
Which
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
So kind of building off of those and then having this phenomenal year that he's on right now. Yeah, that's an interesting one. And you were kind of leading in from John Carlson, very similar situation where with Tampa, what this deal could look like versus if he's still unsigned in the offseason.
Right now, we have him 4 by 5.3. If he's still there in May, I think we're probably projecting him significantly higher, with a higher likelihood of him hitting the market.
A lot of minutes, power play, just looking very good offensively.
Yeah.
Right shot. Yeah.
And then the other one kind of in that same range was, I'm probably skipping some, but you can find them yourselves on AFP Analytics. Nick Blankenberg.
Sneaky good.
Exactly.
He's very much like
him and
similar
Malinsky.
To Malinsky.
Yes.
A little bit more playing time than Malinsky, which is interesting. Trying to figure out how that levels out, I don't know. He's not quite as productive.
Exactly. Slightly less impact, but more playing time.
And he's in Nashville.
Yeah.
Not to get all tax on everyone, but that's kind of
that,
also part of what we do here.
Yeah, and part of especially doing projections now when they really can only re-sign with one team.
Yeah. So his projection, we've got him 3 by 4.4.
Yeah.
So it's a little under what Malinsky got AAV-wise, but also one less year.
Yeah. And not that Colorado's high tax, but there's tax there. Nashville not a tax there. Yep. So.
Yeah. So
before we wrap,
are there even any goalies?
I was going to ask
about?
if you're a team looking for a goalie, who should they be looking for?
Well, I think we can lump Bobrovsky kind of into the
it's Florida or nothing.
Yep. So that brings us to, hang on, I need to scroll a little bit.
I'm gonna I'll filter it real quick and throw it all off. But Brandon Busey.
Well, he's it seems like probably staying with Carolina if it hasn't happened yet. While you're listening to this, there's been rumors for the past week that they're getting close to a deal.
Yes.
So that kind of brings us to like Stuart Skinner, which, depending on how you want to look at it, could actually be a smart, if you want to call it a gamble. Our projection is 2 years at about 3.8, 3.9, significantly lower than where we had him. Just the perception is killing him.
Yeah.
And assuming it is killing him to the extent we believe, based off our projection, that's absolutely like a low risk, high reward for a team.
Yeah, he's someone that could be bumped back up if he continues to play fairly well in Pittsburgh and they do something, like he might get back to 5, 6, and it'll also depend on where Brandon Busey comes in as well, I think.
Yeah. Other than that, we start to get to guys who can be good but aren't necessarily starters. Connor Ingram, Nedeljkovic, Cam Talbot.
Yep.
Freddie Anderson, kind of some of the same names we've been seeing the past few years. David
Rittich, but now we're clear backups.
Right. So like we're kind of getting into the territory of, hey, look, there's not much out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Skinner is probably the obvious name if you're looking for a goalie to take a gamble on.
Yeah.
Or call up St. Louis and try and trade for Binnington or Joel Hofer. But there
was something out there about Wallstedt recently.
That is also, yeah.
That seems interesting because Minnesota did just sign Gustafsson to a pretty nice contract for the team.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Because I just like big, crazy.
Yeah. Well, maybe that'll be a future episode because we went way longer than we were expecting, of course, because we just love talking about contracts.
Yeah, we do.
But we appreciate you listening. I thought we got some good content in here. We appreciate you listening. Max Stern Podcast available on all major podcast platforms. content available on X, Blue Sky, Threads. We on Instagram too at times with stuff.
Maybe we'll start.
Depending on
Maybe
how
we
we're
won't.
depending on how we're feeling
Yeah.
at a given time. Actually, really depending on how you're feeling at a given time, because I don't
True.
venture into Instagram very often.
Yeah, we'll see.
But most importantly, the content is now available on afpanalytics.com.
Yes.
Very easy, user friendly, sortable. And if you're looking for more than just contract projections, that premium, we appreciate you subscribing to that premium. Get all the comps, well, not all the comps, the comps that we display, as well as the tax info, access to MaxStat. All that comes with a $3 a month, $28.80 per year, 20% off. That's a 20% off deal.
All the graphics for
Yes.
contracts and MaxStat. If you want
you can
them,
generate them yourself.
You can generate them.
Yeah. And probably should have mentioned this earlier. I was thinking, if you're a content producer yourself and you want to generate those graphics, you are welcome to use them in your writing. We just ask that you give us proper citation, terms and conditions when you subscribe. We'll lay out usage, but you're free to use them for your own purposes, generating your own content, generating your own revenue. So ideally, you subscribe to us and we help you as well generate views and listens and revenue yourself. So I think that's it. Appreciate you listening, and we'll talk to you next time.